My name is Dominique Muhammad. I'm 29 years old. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and this past year, I've faced and defeated one of the toughest battles that I've ever faced in my life. When I was 20 years old, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 4. I'm gonna bring on fellow cancer survivors to show you guys not only that you can beat any cancer, but that you can beat your zombie, whatever that is in life.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Today, I have a special guest with me, Mr. Eric Spooner. Thank you for taking your time to come and share your story with us. He has an inspiring story of overcoming cancer. Before we get into it, let's make sure to go ahead and follow the podcast on all social media platforms at Beast vs. Zombie. And make sure to subscribe on YouTube and Spotify to get the full video episodes, as well as stay up to date on new launches. So let's get right into it. Again, thank you for coming on to the episode and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. So how did you find out that you had cancer originally?
I actually went in for allergies. I thought I had I was allergic to my sumac tree, and I was having a pretty bad reaction. So we were doing a job, and my son had noticed that my lymph nodes I had a bunch of bumps on the side of my neck. So I waited a couple of days, finished the project out, and then went to the quick care and just said, hey, I think I need some Benadryl or Claritin or something. Been having allergies for the last couple of weeks, and that's when they sent me to the ER. So from there, it was just kind of 17 hours in the hospital, the first run, and then everything came back. They really can't tell you that it's cancer at first. They can only kind of insinuate, like, we're going to have to send you to an ENT, and then from there, they're going to look at it. But all these lymph nodes are pathological sized, which means they're notorious for being cancer. So from there, went to an ENT, got a pretty bad diagnosis initially, went and got, I think, 2 more opinions, and the third one was a really, I guess to me personally, was a well-mannered ENT, a little bit better at handing you the news, and just more realistic about. It wasn't like he was sugarcoating the news either. It was more of like, hey, I've seen this a lot of times in the last 4 or 5 years of my career, so. I'm not going to tell you it's cancer, but if it is, this is more than likely what you're going to be looking at, and these are the procedures we're going to probably be going through, and it was just a little easier to deal with him. So from there, I got referred to a radiologist and oncologist, and it was just getting in scheduled. Like, that's probably the hardest part, is someone telling you have cancer, and then the first appointment they make for you is 5 months later. That's literally like our scheduling system out here in Nevada or whatever, right? Or in Las Vegas, at least. It was like the first, they said that basically the first time they told me I had cancer, then they said, we need to schedule in for the biopsy. The biopsy was a couple weeks later, and then the first opportunity to get me in post-biopsy after, the first one was wrong. So it didn't show anything, and they said that they didn't get enough tissue, so they did a secondary one. And that one came back, I think, 2 or 3 weeks late, got lost in the mix of everything. So now we're 5-6 weeks post the hospital. And then the first meeting beyond that was November. This was in like September. Like November 28th was my appointment. And I'm like, well, you guys just told me I had cancer, and I got to wait 3 months to find out how bad it is or whatever. And so I spoke to a couple of my old clients from work, and that were retired in the radiology center and oncology ward, and they had said, they kind of walked me through calling every day, 2-3 times a day for cancellations. So I got in probably within the end of the week.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of, it just took off from there. I think I was in treatment within less than 3 weeks. Man. And I wasn't even supposed to have my appointment for almost 2 months. And so I had started treatment, I think, mid-October, and then finished it mid-December.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. It's October, November, December. Maybe it was Yeah. It was early October, and then I finished it the 14th of December.
Okay.
So yeah, it ended up because of the holidays. It ended up being it was a 5 week treatment. It ended up being 9 weeks long. So it was a tough patch, man. It's just you know how those things go.
So let's talk about like what was your experience? I know you said you had 3 opinions.
Yeah.
What was your experience with your doctors and like your trust in your doctors and your care plans?
Oh, so the very first doctor I went to was a family doctor of a friend. It wasn't mine. So it was they swore by him, and and they have brought their entire family to him, and he did a wonderful job with their kids and their all of their family. And so his opinion was a little brass, like it was like the very first thing that they said was you have a tumor, looks like in the tonsil area, in your column of your right side, and it's not. You're not really a good candidate for an operation. This is the operation they're opting you for, which requires, removing your jawbone, and then building your jaw, and then taking your pec muscle out, restructuring your face, taking your carotid artery out, and then taking the artery from your thigh and rebuilding that. So it was just this big, and then even from there, you still had to have, I think, 6 weeks of treatment. So I walked out of there, and that was the first thing I had to tell my family. That everybody was kind of like, well, then you have to get a second opinion, right? I mean, because that's not the only pathway. And so then I called my clients, and they basically said no. And then they introduced me to my radiologist, and he said no as well. He had said no. That surgery is a little excessive in the concepts. I was so late staged that there was no guarantee that the treatment was going to make me salvageable, let alone that surgery was going to make getting through treatment nearly impossible at that point. So I went to the second ENT. Now, he was in Summerlin, and he's probably one of my favorite doctors. And it was just like, I've seen this 5 times in the last year maybe, and it's probably throat cancer. It's probably virus-based if your blood work looks good, but your lymph nodes are you have lymphedema, and it's pathological size. It's not standard lymphedema where you just kind of have swollen, like we get sick and your throat swells, right? So then I went and saw one other one, and he said he kind of repeated the same thing the first guy did. Was like, you're gonna probably be a really bad candidate for surgery, but if you can do the surgery, you're gonna want to go to Houston. There's a really good oncology center for throat cancers there. It's one of the best ones in the country, and you'd have to live out in Houston. And just all the things were like a little out of your financial range at one point or another as well. And then now you're leaving your entire support system. You're just out there by yourself. It's a lot harder to, I think, mentally manage. So we went with the second ENT. Then he biopsied us. People at the biopsy were great. I think it was Steinberg Diagnostics did their biopsies with me. And then I came back. I met my oncology people, and the oncologist and the radiologist came up with the game plan. So if anybody that's gone through cancer, you understand a game plan is, this is what we think is going to work. Here's your 1-inch booklet of side effects that you're most likely going to eventually acquire over the next decade of your life, because radiation does about 10 years of damage slowly. And this is where we hope you end up. Maybe, maybe not, but try to stay positive, right? And in throat cancer, it's pretty brutal. The treatment's a lot rougher, I've been told, than other cancers. And just seeing the people that I saw in these oncologies and radiology centers, the throat cancer patients were brutalized. I felt like, in comparison, because the radiation goes across the scope of where you're eating and drinking, your hydration, everything's, you can't swallow anymore. Where if you have other cancers, the treatment's really rough, like colon cancer or any of those type of things. It's not affecting your ability to swallow and drink and eat a lot of times, right? So I think I went into, I was pretty naive. I went into the first treatment, and I was just like joking with my kids, saying, "Hey, this is going to be like a couple months in college of hangovers and reliving my college years." And no one in my family's ever had cancer, mind you. So we all thought like, oh, treatment's going to be 7 weeks, and I'm going to be back to work in the 8th week, right? We're just kind of
You don't know what to expect.
No, we didn't know, and my radiologist was just like, I hope you keep that sense of humor throughout this treatment. It's gonna be tough, but we got in the first week, chemo, radiation. The way they set me up was simultaneously, so I would do 8 hours of chemo every Wednesday. I'd do radiation Monday through Friday, and the chemo was essentially made to enhance the radiation. So I'd have the best outlook and outcome towards the tumor and the lymphedema areas. But about 2 weeks in, when feels like a train hits you.
Yes.
I don't think the chemo was even. I got done with the first week and I was like, oh, this is gonna be fine. I got done with the second week, and by probably 3 days after the second week treatment, I was like, a train had ran me over, and that's when we started panicking. Like, we'll still have like 7 more weeks left of this, and that's how bad it basically extrapolated from 7 to 10 days. Now, what's going to happen over the next 70 days or whatever, right? So I did everything with zero medication.
Wow.
I just used. I had thrush. If you know what that is, it's like 1,000 canker sores. Your whole mouth becomes a canker sore. Your throat. I had that after the second week. I had that for 9 straight weeks. Couldn't get rid of it. I had, you name it. My tongue stopped working. My jaw locked shut. Stopped. They had to use like those popsicle sticks to pry my mouth open to check. Mm-hmm. I was doing hydration 4 days a week, 5 days a week. Through IVs, and the way we were trying to, those medicinal shakes they give you, I was probably
like
getting
the little boosting.
The 500 calorie ones or whatever. I was probably drinking 1 to 3 of those a day, and maybe vomiting half of it.
Yes.
And because it was too painful, because the throat radiation treatment. And but no, I think in those windows you just kind of figure out like what's important at the moment, and it's not really what's important as a big scope. You quit looking at things within the month or your future, or you just start looking at like, this is important right now, right in front of me, right? And so what the doctors would tell me, I'd listen, and they were advocates for medication. I think for my treatment, most of the people that I saw 5 to 10 days in were on a permanent fentanyl patch and liquid morphine to take the edge off beyond the fentanyl. And I would get on these forums and stuff, and I would say like, hey, there's a lot more people post-treatment that are in situations where they're fighting addiction now. Yes. And now, so they beat cancer, or they sort of beat cancer. They're in remission temporarily, but they're now in rehabs for addiction and swallow therapy. And I told my wife, like, I've got 5 sons. They don't need me to hear as an addict on top of this, like beyond it. So we're just gonna do this. I saw this lady said that you can do like, I think it's baking soda and salt water gargles like 3 to 5 times a day, and it'll clear your throat space as well as it can. Right. And that's all I did, and then just suffered the headaches and the nausea and. Yeah, it's a long run.
That is crazy.
Yeah, if anybody that's had cancer, you understand, like, no medication is even my doctors were just like, it wasn't to prove anything either, mind you. It was just, I was more afraid of the concept that addiction doesn't have any boundaries to anyone, right? So you see people get in car accidents and they get on pain pills because their back's screwed up, and then they become an addict. And you just see it. It happens all the time to good people. It's not just people that you think are just out there experimenting, right? And I think the medical field that's their go-to. Their go-to is to make your life, to go through this level of trauma and treatment. They want to make your mentally as peaceful as you can to get through it. And it's just not a. I wouldn't advocate it for. I told my wife I don't think I would. I might have done a little bit. If I had to do that again, I might have. I don't think I would have done it that way. I think my cousin's a psychologist, and I had a lot of PTSD for that first year post treatment. Yes. I was a train wreck, and he said that's what the medication. Some of that medication was to put you in a haze, so you don't coherently experience the trauma. And so that way, some of it's like, oh, I don't remember. I was asleep half of it or whatever. He's like, you're awake 20 hours a day thinking you're dying. So that level of trauma for that many months of your life is something that you handle coherently, no matter how good you are, how positive minded you are. When it starts to hit the fan, you start panicking. And if you're like, oh, I just have to take an anxiety pill, or I have to take a pain med, then the pain doesn't get as bad, right? And no, it just never. I stopped saying it can't get any worse because it just kept getting worse. Every week I'd say, oh, it can't get any worse than this. Nobody is mentally made to suffer this way and understand it. And then a week later it was like, I think on the 6th week my white blood cell count went to 0.01. So we had to do those injections that make the blood cell, that force the white cell count out of your bone marrow.
Yes.
And that's like voodoo pain. If anybody's gone through that the level, like, so what happens, I think, is what I was told is that your bones, the cavity, and they shoot you, and then it forces your white cell counts to develop, but it's like a balloon that has no expansion. So your white cells only secrete at the same pace, but if they're developing at 10 times the pace, it's like your bones are stretching, but they have no place to go. And so it's like putting air in a balloon that, in a cavity. It's like, it feels like your every joint in your body is going to explode. And I told my son, like, Dad, I'm done saying it can't get any worse, because I don't even know what else is beyond this level of treatment. But I had to do it for the last 2 or 3 weeks of the treatment. And I was already at a point where my everything had locked up, my tongue, my jaw. I was having to do like intravenous hydration. And so certain levels of pain were just constant, right? It was all the time, right? And the only time you got away from pain was when you could sleep. But in throat cancer, I think for a lot of people, sleeping is almost impossible because the mucus that's developed in your throat, you choke on all the time. So it's almost like you have sleep apnea. So you'll get 15, 20 minutes at a time. And after 2 months, you're in complete sleep deprivation. So that psychologically makes it harder to manage the other stuff, the trauma, right?
Yes.
And so Hunter, my son, he saw it. The radiation started breaking away at my skin. So my skin had open wounds from ear to ear all the way through here. Where the primary areas were, they were just huge open lacerations and stuff. And my skin had just basically melted. And I saw people coming out of there that just looked like they got a suntan, literally. Yes. And then here I am, like my whole throat's melted to death. And I was wearing a gaiter to hide it because I was bleeding all the time. And they gave me I think it's Silvadene. It's like for burn victims cream. And I would put that on and just put the gaiter on so my kids didn't see it. So they didn't know if I was that bad or not. And my son saw it one night because I got stuck trying to pull it up, and then this was bleeding. And he was like, I'm going to move on my room down into your room. And we made the living room like a hospice room. And he stayed in there for the rest of the treatment and kind of got to see like how bad it was getting. And I think that was probably a curse and a blessing. Like, to watch him worry is hard as a parent, obviously. And then, but to let him know like how important, you have a moment where you get to talk, you get to say what you want to say. And I think that's the blessing in all of it is, and you just you're not forced to do that often with your children. I mean, you could tell them you love them their whole lives, right? But you're not forced to tell them like when your mortality is on the table. Like, I'm really proud of all these things you've done in life. And he just has to sit there and listen. And it's emotional and it's meant to be, but, we didn't know where we were going. We got out of treatment. Honestly, I don't know if I wasn't listening to my nurse. I wasn't given the information that the chemo now and the radiation will ramp up for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month before you start to feel better. So you thought you feel bad now, give it 2 weeks and it's going to be worse, like double, yes. Right? I didn't hear that. I left and just kind of like ran away from the torture places and tried to like hyper focus on, okay, this is recovery. And it just kept getting worse for months, like about a month. And I went in for my first follow-up and they were like, your numbers are really bad. You're trending towards multiple organ failure. And if you start having any of these signs, you need to get to a hospital right away. You need to if you can't start putting more calories into your system from malnutrition, I think I lost 65 pounds in a month. Wow. Then you're gonna. It's not about your overall weight. It's about the way you've lost your weight. That your organs can't manage that type of a crash, and we're gonna have to take you into a hospital, leave you in the hospital, and have them feed you through a tube through your nose. Right. This is in the middle of COVID.
Wow.
So that wasn't optional for me to go into like a hospital full of people with COVID
Right.
in the middle of treatment with my zero
Your
immune system.
compromised.
Yeah, completely, right? So Hunter and I were like, well, let's take it 100 calories at a time. Let's get some soup and see if we can get the soup down. And this is going to sound crazy, but my throat was so messed up. We would have to drink a shot of orange juice and water to make it burn so bad that the boost shake soothed the pain. And then I could actually drink the entire 400, 500 calorie boost shake to get rid of the citrus pain, right? And we were doing that 2 or 3 times a day and then trying to eat like just lukewarm soup. And it took months to get past like maybe 400 or 500 calories, 700 calories. It just didn't seem like we were ever going to get there. And then it just all, like, I don't know. You could tell almost 6 weeks later that something happened because I started healing. When my throat started to heal, a lot of things changed, right? I had other side effects. I think the side effects book was an inch thick of this is what you're going to get. I mean, the chemotherapy that they offered me was the highest level. It was carboplatin and Taxol combination with the highest level of radiation treatment. That was the best opportunity I had to get out of. I was late stage 3B. So the best opportunity to make me salvageable immediately came with heart disease, liver disease, and kidney disease on the first injection of chemo. That was a guarantee.
Man.
That was a guaranteed side effect. And then what I got up and beyond that was you're not going to have any saliva glands. They're probably going to be 5 to 10% if you're lucky in a lifetime. You're more than likely to lose all your teeth at some point. You're going to have tendon shrinkage and bone density issues your whole life because in the areas that you were treated in, because the blood circulation is not going to be good there anymore. You know, anybody that's experienced that with radiation, that's what happens. And there's just a lot of things. TMJ is one thing. It's like if you get a calf cramp, but you get it in the side of your face, essentially. It's like that's random 2 to 3 times a day. And I just remember I didn't really care how big the booklet was. I just, hey, we're swinging for the fences. At least I could say I tried. And it's not a bridge until you make it a bridge. That was my whole mindset. Initially, yeah, you go in there and you're full of fear and you're crying and your family's crying and everybody's hysterical. And then you start to realize like none of this is real until it's the bridge. And you're standing on it. Otherwise, you're just creating bridges out of bad rabbit holes. And that's what you end up doing. And then if you're a what if person, this is the absolute worst scenario for you. Because if you're that, well, what if this, and then it becomes that, and there's no way, and you just become, you can just go down these negative rabbit holes, and then psychologically, you just don't heal. And everything's a symptom, and everything's nothing's a side effect. Everything's the reality that, oh, it's back. I'm sure it is what it is. And it takes time. It's one of my clients told me it's a marathon. It's not a race, and you're going to learn that nothing you do is going to change the outcome. Not worrying, not going out of your way to be like you're going to naturally be proactive for yourself, for your own health beyond it, right? But like you're not. That doesn't guarantee you anything. So just live your life, and be as proactive towards your health as you can, to any degree. Whether like I don't even use mouthwash now with alcohol in it because alcohol is a carcinogen, and it was throat cancer, obviously, right? So it's considered throat cancer. It was tonsillar cancer, but it's in the radiations in the throat area. So, my doctors, my radiologist was great. My oncologist is great. I had a very good team during treatment. They were 100% on their A game. Post-treatment was tough. They'd lost my CT scans a bunch of different times. They've lost biopsy results, things that should take 72 hours to get results in, sometimes took 4 weeks till they found the paper. That wasn't them though. That was just like scheduling and just weird stuff. And that was more maddening, I think. In treatment, you can just focus on surviving and trying to stay positive and living in the moment of, at one point I was sleeping 20 hours a day, I think. Not even sleeping. I just couldn't get out of bed. I was just laying there.
No energy.
And no, he just was so sick. And then my kids play soccer, and I just remember telling my wife, like, well, I'm not going to die in this bed. I'm going to go sit and watch my kid chase his dreams, and I'll sit on the side of a field even if I'm sick. So my older son carried me out to the field, put me in a chair and a blanket. I probably puked 4 or 5 times and had to be carried off. But I watched the game, and then I came home. I slept for 2 days. And when I was awake, I literally just thought about the game. And like, well, I'd rather suffer like that for 40 minutes or 90 minutes of watching my kids out there. And if that's how I'm going to die, let me just die that way. And that went on for 3-6 months. I went in to a checkup, I think 2 weeks post the first one, when they said I was going to go into organ failure. They had me coming back every 14 days to just check my numbers again. And the second one was, I just remember asking them, like, well, how long am I going to be like this? Like, this is like, there's no way I'm going to be like, I'm a burden to everyone at this point. Like, I can't even walk on my own. And I said, probably until Christmas. And this is like in February, like 1st of February.
Yeah.
And I just remember being irate. Like, there's no way I'm going to be sitting in this bed for another 10 months. And I have 5 boys, and 4 of them were home at the time. And one of them would walk me to the door and back 3 to 5 times a day. And then later we start walking to the edge of the sidewalk and back, and walking to the mailbox and back. In a month, I was walking with my wife down to the park, which is probably a 1/4 mile and back, and I'm doing that 2 times a day. And in 3 months, I was walking the whole neighborhood, maybe 3 to 5 miles a day. And then in 6 months, I was doing summit hikes, like 10-mile hikes up to the top of mountains, like the 404 North and Black Mountain out here. And it took, 3 months of trying to get to the top,
Right.
and pacing myself, because I had to carry like tons of water, like 6 liters of water. I couldn't probably even walk out to that door without needing a drink of water, because my esophagus was so damaged at the time, and it would just collapse shut, and I couldn't breathe. I'd be wide awake, and it just would cinch shut. It would stick, and so would my epiglottis. So, and those are the things that like just differentiate when you're drinking. The water goes down into your stomach versus your windpipe, right? Yeah.
Okay.
And so initially, none of that was working. So if I drank, I would aspirate. If it would go into where you couldn't breathe good because it went down the wrong tube, and it was going on for months. And then, as it started to get a little better, that just kind of came along with healing, I think. And then, I don't think I never anticipated being as well as I am now. I would have probably bet everything against it, but I was never like the guy who thought he was down and out. I just thought I'd go out kicking and screaming, right? Like I think everybody should. I think that's a scary word for everyone. It's scary because as a parent, you're processing it like, what are my kids going to do without me? How's my spouse going to handle financially the world without me, and have to process like these kids who are going to need counseling. And then as a kid, if you get it, you don't understand what you're processing. Like, you just think people die from it. And so you're just like, I'm dying. And so it's scary. Like, it's traumatizing. But at the parent level, watching their kid have it, I think that's worse than when you're a parent and you have it and you're like, well, I got stuff to fight for. So I'm going to go down kicking and screaming one way or the other. And the first thing you can probably do for yourself is believe that in today's society of an education of medical facilities and technology, like, people don't stereotypically die right away from cancer if you catch it early enough, and if you do these follow-ups and these checkups, like, you get to stay in the game a long time. And if you look at it that way and don't look at it like, oh, cancer's ruined my life. It's taken so much away from me. You just look at it like, well, you got maybe 15 more months left to live with the people you care about, to treat them the way you want to see them be treated, to guide them and comfort them. It makes it, might be 15 months. It might be 15 more years. But at least you're present in all of it. And I think a lot of people forget to turn that around because you're so worried about it. Because it does get bad for everyone.
Yes.
Even people that get the stage 1 thing, and it's like stage 1 to stage 4 or stage 3 are apples and oranges. But the fear is all the same, right? And the concept that I've seen people go in with stage 1 and come out and be way worse off post treatment, right? So there's just no way. But I think your mindset has a lot to do with it. I think a lot of luck, a lot of faith, your support system. But I think when you get into the window where it's all bad, a strand of hope is a lot stronger than all that fear that's bogging you down. And if you just have that little bit of hope or that little bit of faith, a hair strand of that's stronger than a world of the fear and all the pain. Like you just have to hang on to it. And you have to actually get into these windows where you understand, like, this one day, everybody's done it. They've had one day that felt like a lifetime. They're doing something that was so great to them that, like, that one day of life experience felt like it could have been like 6 months of your life. Everybody's had that. And if you learn how to live that way in that moment, those 10 months, 10 years or whatever will feel like generations of time for you, your children, people that you're allowing in your space. Because at that point, you have to choose the energy that's in your space. It can't be negative energy. It can't be against the grain.
Yes.
It's got to be people that are like, they want to see you get better. They want to see you thrive. They want what's best for you just the same way you want what's best for them. That energy heals you.
Yes.
Even so, it makes it okay when you're that sick. You start going like, we're going to be okay. My sons, my wife, they're surrounded by good people. The world's going to be okay with me here, without me here, for them. And then I think you just heal. I think you can. I think a lot of people don't sit on that. They try to, and they get to the edge of it where now it's time to believe in it. And that's a tough, bridge to stand on and really believe, like, okay, we're here now. So this is when it's time. Like, it's easy to believe when you're not sickly yet that this is going to be fine. Right? And the first, like, 2 treatments, you're like, oh, this is going to be no big deal. This will be easy. And then you get, 7 weeks in, 8 weeks in, and you're like, and everybody's looking at you like you died already. Right?
Yes.
So that's when you have to convince yourself, like, oh, well, this is really bad. I thought I was better and went out and started visiting people. I lost my voice for weeks. And as soon as I got it back, I went to go see my aunt and my uncle, tell them I love them because I hadn't been able to talk. I called my parents. I went and saw another set of aunt and uncles that lived around the corner. And my one uncle just stared at me and cried the whole time.
Yeah.
And I just remember coming home to my wife, like, do I look bad? I thought I looked better to me comparatively from 5-6 weeks before.
Well, you were.
And she showed me a video, and I was like, all right, I need to stay in the house for another 6 months. 'Cause I thought I looked good, but it was horrible, man. Like, so I was still really gray, which I didn't understand. I was pretty bald. But I felt like I had turned the corner and was getting healthy, and I wanted to go say hi to everyone. And it just kind of like was a shock to see the reaction that I was getting. And I waited another 6 weeks, hiked a little bit more, looked a little bit healthier. Like I said, I had a lot of family friends. I have a big support system that reached out to help me get through it, especially post-treatment. During treatment, no one knows what to say. And I think that sometimes that's better. Like, everybody's doing their best to handle it, but there's no right or wrong. You call and say, I hope you're doing okay. You don't know what you want to hear. Right? People say, oh, I'm sorry. Like, oh, I know, me too. Yeah. Like, no one knows exactly what to say, but they all mean well. So if you can absorb that and take it for what it is, it's just people that care about you. They're never going to say the right thing, and you're going to get fussy in the middle of this in the midst of all of why me, and you don't have a choice but to have that pity party for one. It just depends on how long you want to stay in that table and keep living there. Like you have to go, okay, well, I got it out of my system. I'm done feeling bad for myself. And now I don't want to look back and go, I only had 10 months and I wasted 6 of them worrying about when it was going to end. And so that was another 180 days or whatever that I could have been spending time trying to enjoy whatever I had, however I felt. You could feel bad and still enjoy your children, still enjoy time with your spouse, still tell people you love them. You can feel terrible and still do that. But what you can't do is spend 6 months not doing that and then look back and wish you had those 6 months. You can't get that time back. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the biggest thing I got from all of it, was that I need to live for everyone in my circle every day in the moment of them. And it just makes your relationships better, more promising.
Yes.
Yeah, you just, I don't know. You don't, even my doctors are like that now. My radiologist assistant is the greatest person on the planet. She's like, I got a bug bite like 3-4 months after my 1 year, and it was right on the tonsillar column that I got bit. It was right here. So I had these bites, these bumps, all exactly where the original treatment was. And I was like, what are the chances that I just got it back out of nowhere? And I went in there freaking out. And she just looked at me and she's like, there's no way. So there's absolutely no, we can do a CT scan or whatever, but there's no way. Like just looking at your blood work from like a month ago, there's no way that happened. So, give it a couple of weeks, ice it, see what happens. And if it starts to itch, it's just bug bites. And that's what it ended up being. But it was like the fact that you're living in that reality was just like, oh my gosh. And that goes on even now. As I'm 3 years post-treatment. I don't think I got a full remission until the 2-year, 24-month mark. Every 90 days for the first 2 years, they thought they found something, that we need to do another biopsy. Something looks, suspicious. You had some uptake and whatever, and so it was constantly going back in. And those treatments are, at least if you've been in protocols, they're you go in, you do blood work for oncology or radiology. I'm sorry, and then 3 days later you do a CT scan, and the following Monday you get the results of the CT scan with another set of blood work for your vital organs, and then the end of that week you're going to oncology to meet with them with your vital organ results. And then a week after that, you're going to the ENT to do a physical throat scope when they put the camera down through your nose into your throat. And then they all do a conference meeting, and if everything looks good, then you're good. If not, they come up with your game plan, and it's either a biopsy or, another. So, I did that for 2 years and never got a clean one. And it was just maddening. But then it made the 2-year mark when it came in and they said, hey, there's nothing here. That's fine. Go live your life. We're about as happy as we can be for you. And it just made that easier to appreciate. My last one was 6 months ago, and that was clean as well. And I anticipated that one being clean.
Yes.
And then my next one is early January, in about 3 weeks. So I go right back into protocols. And then I think after this would be the 3rd year, so I'd still be every 6 months. And then after the 4th year, it's once a year. And the percentages go down. Like my recurrence percentage in those first 2 years was like in the high 70%, I was told. So, that was like 77 or 7 or 8 out of 10 people were coming back with it in 24 months. That was a lot I had to get a big backpack, throw all that in my backpack and carry it around and live my daily life.
Yes.
Try to pretend like that wasn't a thing in the back of my mind. And I remember telling my older son, like, I get it now. He's like, what do you mean? I said, sometimes the people in the world around you are in a really bad headspace because they're toting around something you have no idea, right? And they're trying to just get through their day, and then one bad thing happens, and they're at the edge of the cliff already all day long. And I said, I get it. You just have to accept it for people and say, hey, I'm sorry. Sorry the world's doing that to you, right? I think now, looking back on a lot of things, I was very blessed. and I just looked at it like God gave me a lot of sons, a lot of a wonderful wife, healthy family members, a whole lot of blessings, and this was probably just the balance. I had to go through a little bit of torture to make up for the balance. You can't have all that good in your life and then not have any balance to it. So I'm good now. So I for God willing, indefinitely. But I try not to I just try not to worry about it in a time frame. I don't want to, I hope I get to the 5-year mark, or I hope I get to the 10, 15-year mark. I just look at it like, I hope I live my life like this forever, and I don't become complacent on the idea of being grateful and appreciating the world around me and the people in my world. And that hasn't changed yet. It's been 3 years. And I just hope, we have another podcast in 10 years and it's the same.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's it. But.
Man, your story is crazy. I have nothing else to ask you. You took it over. So I've had cancer for about 10 years, yes, on and off, but it was nothing compared to anything you went through, except for when I was doing my transplants.
Yes.
And specifically the second transplant that I just had.
Yeah.
Was anything close to what you had going on. And I remember, like, there's so much stuff that you just said that I could relate to.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Specifically, like, one of the biggest things, like, obviously I'm grateful for so many things now, big and small, that maybe I wouldn't have been before, but maybe I'm just more grateful for those things. But right during COVID, I had my last transplant. And so during that time, so I had had a transplant before, and it was pretty straightforward. It didn't even work, but it was pretty straightforward. And I gave myself my own cells. So I was giving myself the injections to make the cells secrete out of my bones.
Yep.
And I felt that bone pain, that because you can't numb your bones, right? And I'm sure you've gotten a bone biopsy before. Yep. So that's some of the worst pain that I've ever felt, for sure.
Yeah.
But that first transplant, it went really smooth.
Okay.
I recovered pretty well from it. I was in remission for 3 years after it. Like, I felt pretty good. I seemed to bounce back pretty good. I was younger at the time. So going into the second transplant, it was different because now I'm getting my dad's cells. So my dad's collecting the cells. I'm still going through kind of a similar process. The only difference is now when they give me my dad's cells, they let the cells attack my body for a day in order to put together a medication to kind of combat that, and kind of basically tell my cells that, like, hey, because they're in a foreign body, right? So they're going to start attacking foreign body. So tell those cells that, like, hey, this is actually correct, and now I'm living with my dad's cells.
Yeah.
So that was the toughest thing. So I'd gone through some radiation before, so basically I had lymphoma. It was bulky in my chest. It was stage 4 because there was some below my diaphragm, but it was bulky in my chest. And so I initially responded really well, but then a little bit kind of came back. And so I did like very light radiation. So then through this whole process before this most recent transplant, I hadn't had any other radiation. The radiation I initially got after my first treatment was extremely low dosage of radiation just to see if it maybe will work to knock it out, and didn't work.
Yeah.
So then going into this last transplant, I got full body radiation, like full body radiation, full body chemo. Because what you do in a bone marrow transplant, they destroy all your cells in your body, so they can't detect a single cell in your blood, and then they give you the collected cells back. It's like a 15-minute blood transfusion.
Yeah.
So like a bone marrow transplant sounds crazy, but it's just like just really a blood transfusion. But then you recover. You have to recover, right? And so during that period, right, like that recovery, this most recent time was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I had no energy, and going into it, I was extremely, like, I was 3 years into remission. I was almost as strong as I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
I was extremely active when it came back. Recovering from that transplant was insane, and part of it, like you said, the psychological piece. So it was during COVID.
Yep.
And I was only allowed one visitor the entire time. Not like one visitor a day, a different visitor, like one visitor the entire time.
Yep.
And during the transplant, you're quarantined to one floor with all these other transplant patients because you're immune compromised.
Yeah.
And so it was just my mom and I for a good month, just hanging out, watching movies, playing random games in the hospital, going on little walks, doing as much as I could. Right now, I have no energy. But then, like, the piece coming back, so, like, relating to when you started to get back and you were still getting the certain types of reactions from your support.
Yeah.
I remember specifically, man, like, my uncle, he came over. I finally got out of the hospital. And everybody knows I love to eat. And so he came over and cooked me some burgers. And I remember this, like, I couldn't even get up to tell him goodbye, to, like, shake his hand, to say goodbye. I was just, like, stuck on the couch. I remember during, like, that recovery process right after the transplant, there was days I couldn't get out of the bed till like 1, 2, 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't have the energy. I was weak.
Yep.
Right. I had lost probably 30 pounds at least of, like, muscle. I'm not like a big guy.
Yeah, but 30 pounds is a lot though.
But so it was like 30 pounds that I lost. So I'm like this skinny dude now, like trying to get my weight back. So yeah, that's the closest thing that I get to what seems like your entire treatment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you beat it the first time. That's one of the things I always wondered about recurrence is when it came back, did you feel like, well, I already beat it once, it's going to be fine? Or did it come back and you go, oh my gosh, here we go again. And now this is the time that I don't beat it.
So I thought it would be easier. It was like, oh, I beat this, I'm just going to beat it again.
Okay, yeah. But then
I did the it's like I underestimated it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Like it's different every time, right?
It's different. It was completely different.
Yeah.
Like I cannot replicate that in any kind of way. Like every cancer situation is different. I've had friends, we had the same type of cancer. They beat cancer in 6 months. I beat cancer in 10 years.
You see what I mean? Yeah. I had 30 people, I think, in my group of people that I'd met in that area. We were all kind of in the same transition of you go to this center and then you're in these 15-minute intervals for radiation in the same center. And like I said, this one guy looked like he was on vacation the whole time. He ate he never lost a pound. He never got sunburns. He didn't even look red. His hair didn't fall out. I was like, so you never know what treatment they're getting. It's not equivalent to yours, but they're in the same realm, right? And then you just go, man, I don't even... And there was people that were even worse than me, and they were fully medicated. They were almost vegetables by the time we got near the end of treatment. And I just, you that can be almost your worst enemy, because you look at somebody else and it's like in life, right? You don't compare yourself to other people because it's like that takes away your internal happiness. Mm-hmm. There's always somebody better, right? And then you're just sitting in these treatments and you're like, why is this guy, it looks like he's not even going through treatment. It's like he's just coming here to hang out. Yes. And he doesn't even act sick. He was a super positive guy. He was always trying to pump everybody up. And so I always appreciated it. And I would go home and just be like, man, good for that guy. Like you're in so much pain, but you're just happy that somebody's not. Yeah. Because that's the level of suffering you're going through, that if anybody is going through this, I'm sorry. I don't care if I hate you. I don't care. Like, I am so sorry that your family's suffering with you. Your friendships are suffering with you. Anybody your parents, obviously, right? Your mom sat in there with you. No matter how hard it is or not hard it is, it's hard on everyone, right? Hard on you. And then you, like you said, you think like, I always wondered that, like in the recurrence window, because it happens so much. And you don't know what causes it, right? Some people go, I saw guys that like, couldn't wait to get a drink, and they're sort of re-drinking and smoking again. And I'm like, you just got out of throat cancer treatment. When it comes back, what do?
You do?
You're going to beat yourself up? Or you can't, because you gave it to yourself again, right? Essentially, it's what you would think. But when that second time comes around, I always was curious as to like, do you feel like you only had one good run at it to beat it? Because you can't do radiation. I can't do it twice in 10 years, right? So I can do immunotherapy as a second, and I could probably go back into chemo if I had to as a second, but I couldn't do. And the radiation, I think, is what kills the tumor. So I always just wondered where the mindset is. I personally just decided that that wasn't a bridge yet, and when it becomes one, whatever those options are on that bridge, we'll see.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, because it's like, it's easy to go, what if you're a 10-year cancer survivor? You've been looking over your shoulder for 10 years. You can't tell me you haven't. Right. And it's like, you have to find peace in that. So there has to be a way to just go, yeah, okay. And then you just move on with your life. Right. And that's the only way. Like, your podcast is a great concept because it teaches people, it gives them insight into the ideas that it, it doesn't have to ruin your life. I mean, it's going to take a lot away. We're not naive to the idea that you're going to have to like learn what's important, sacrifice a lot of things, and then decide what you're willing to build back, right? Because you're stuck on the couch, right? You were young. Imagine if you had a house full of kids and a business you were trying to run, and you had to build back. Like, where do you even begin? Like, your family's financially suffering. Those kind of things add on. Your parents are suffering, watching their child suffer. Like, you just wake up one day and you go, well, that was just a really tough patch, and hopefully we don't have to relive that patch again. But for now, we're just gonna live today in today's moment, and today's great. So right, and you're healed, and you went snowboarding earlier today. You said,
yes,
it's like you're living a wonderful life, and it's like cancer didn't take anything away. If anything, in the window that you were going through treatment, it took a lot away, and it put a lot of things into your mindset, good and bad. Right, it gave you balance and how to appreciate your life on a daily basis, even small things that pretty much would be obsolete in today's like level of appreciation to things, to little things. And then you're just like, no, it's small things are monumental too. Now, like, that's what makes it great. The bad thing is you have to go through all that suffering to get to that window mentally. I
exactly.
think. But I don't know. I think it took 3 years to even be able to talk about it. I've been offered an opportunity to talk about it multiple times. I just couldn't have the conversation. I cemented up those rabbit holes.
Well, I'm so glad.
And then I just told my son, like, yeah, I could do it now. I think I'm good. I could talk about it. Like 2 years ago, 6 months ago, I couldn't.
No way.
I spent the first 2 years of my life going, okay, let's pour cement in some of these rabbit holes so I don't go down them ever again, because they don't lead me anywhere but to depression, misery, just worrying and anxiety level. I just had to close those up and go, okay, well, it's okay to be systematic of worrying about things that, could happen, or is this a side effect? Research the side effect. But spending every moment of your life going, what's the point in doing that? If it comes back, it's over anyway. Right? And then you just can't live that way. And a lot of people end up on those paths, and it's hard to climb out. You dig those ditches mentally and emotionally, and your support system is always going to try to help you, but you're going to take that help in perspective, right? You're going to say things like, well, you don't even understand.
No.
They're going to say things like this. Well, you can't live that way. I could die in a plane crash tomorrow, or a car accident tomorrow. We could all die. You can't live your life worrying about dying. That's easy to say when you're not the guy. Everybody with cancer has heard that.
Yes.
I guarantee it. Like, they've heard that once from somebody close to them. And how you process that is usually like in resentment. Like, it's not the same. Says the guy who never has gone through cancer, right? But what they mean is, in the best emotional way of supporting you is we don't want you to die, and I don't want to die either. But we all can. And if you can get back to living that way, you'll just have a better life. Understanding that we're not in control of a lot of that stuff. Keep worrying about controlling, you'll go crazy. You'll miss a lot of time that you could have just spent
enjoying
your life, right? So
Man, well, that's all the time we have for
Yeah.
today. Thank you for sharing your story. We gotta do another episode.
Yeah,
we
sure.
we gotta talk some more. We got some more questions.
Yeah.
And some more stuff to talk about. Thank you for tuning in tonight on this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Make sure to follow on all social media platforms at Beast vs. Zombie. Subscribe on YouTube and Spotify to see the full videos and stay up to date on the newest episodes. Have a good night, guys. Be a beast.